Check this.
What's up guys, this is Roy from Team Nonstop Gaming, and I'm coming at you today with a special video on cheating and how to prepare yourself against it. Now with the events coming back hopefully in the near future, I know there are locals opening and having 9-man tournaments, so I'm pretty happy about that. And I just wanted everyone to be prepared and remember, when you start going to bigger tournaments, people do cheat, and I just wanted to give an instruction video on things to look out for. This way here, nobody gets cheated, because there's no worse feeling than being at that top table, losing a match because somebody cheated against you, and you basically losing your spot, your invite, everything. From the moment you know that they cheated and you lost to them, that's basically the end of it for your day. Anyways, that's me anyways. This is all from my point of view and situations I've had happen to me in the past. I was playing True Draco, and it was a Toronto Regionals. Yeah, it was a Toronto Regionals. And I was at the top tables. I think I was at table 1 or 2. I was playing against a Paleozoic player. He went first, and throughout the match I noticed it was a little weird. He had 2 anti-spell fragrance in his main deck, as well as 3 Mask of Restrict. And him going first, he flipped that on me first turn, and before I did anything, so I thought that was kind of weird, meaning he probably saw me play and knew. We played that match, and I lost. I mean, it happens. Game 2. I decided to go second because I thought I could break his spell and traps if I opened the right card, so I sided in and stuff to break back row decks. And he starts off with basic Toad play with 5 back row pass. I was able to break his board. I think I won that round. The following match, he sided in cards. It was a long third game. He ended up having he banished 10 cards off of Desires, and he brought 1 card back with the Paleozoic Trap. Later on, after we had done everything and he locked me out completely, we checked through his banish and there was 7 cards in there. Just 7 cards. He had only activated 1 of the Paleozoic Traps to return a banish card, so we were really confused about that, but at that point I'd already signed the slip and I lost. So just pay attention to the game state, make sure you see and pay attention to your opponent. I just don't want anyone losing due to situations like that. It's happened to a good friend of mine at a regionals. People playing foreign cards, sometimes they will feel the need, if it's close to the top tables, they're close to getting that invite or that top, and they're getting desperate for that final win to get them their spot. Sometimes they'll mislead you on what their cards actually do. Like, make sure that if your opponent is playing foreign cards, they have a translation, or now that everyone has that new Yugioh app, the Yugioh Neuron, just make sure that you know what their cards do, know what your own cards do, because I've seen people do things like double summon in a turn, because turns take pretty long nowadays, and people accidentally forget, oh, did I normal summon? I've seen that a lot back in Goki format. I've already given you information on reading your cards, reading your opponent's cards, knowing everything that you need to know. Pay close attention to your opponent, because that is vital if you're going to win. Now, I'm going to show you some things that I have picked up from other videos that people caught cheating do, and I hope that you enjoy it. A lot of thanks goes to Farfa for this, as well as Tom from MST TV. I will be leaving a link to their profiles in the description, but if you're not already subscribed to them, I don't know how you found me. But anyways, let's get down to the tutorial on how to catch cheaters. And one more thing. This here I have been guilty of doing, and that is forgetting to let your opponent cut your deck. Now, I know a lot of times if you're just sitting at home playing cards by yourself, you imitate as if what your opponent would do, cutting your deck if you're doing test hands. Do not do that at a tournament. Make sure you shuffle your deck and you pass it to your opponent right away. Make sure you do that before you end up, well, accidentally cheating and just setting your deck down. That has happened to me at a tournament, and I have gotten a game loss to it. It was not intentional or anything. Even if you or your opponent don't mean to do that, just keep an eye out. Always cut their deck out of respect, and also out of respect, let them cut your deck. Also, remember, have a shower, smell good. Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments can be very, very long and stressful, so make sure you bring deodorant, because smelling bad at an event, that's basically chemical warfare. That's why they put in the new rule. Sorry, I had to. Anyways, let's get back to it. Now, here's some examples. I'm going to be using my goat deck for this, but just to show examples. Now, a lot of people right now in the game aren't playing a lot of back row removal instead of goat format, so it's a little questionable if they've got 2 Dust Tornadoes and a Jinzo in there instead of like main chaos cards if they're playing chaos decks. Stuff that usually you side out, right? So, side cards in the main. That's something you can't really check on and ask about, because right away you're declaring them that you think they're cheating, which isn't fair in the gameplay. But like misleading people on card effects is another. I mean, say I'm playing a German Mystical Space Typhoon. People can say it says stuff like negate any spell or trap on the field. Anything like that. I mean, no, that's kind of an old ruling, but I figure it's good to bring up. Right? So, kind of cheating in it. There's like, let's see. For example, when they're shuffling their deck, if they're shuffling like this, they're able to see into their deck so they can see where all the power cards are. Like, for example, Azure Priest. Right now, everyone knows it's a good card in GOAT format, especially against GOAT control, but say, Breaker. Good back row removal. Scoping your deck allows you the ability to see like this and then kind of put the card to anywhere you want it to be. Right there, I've got it there. Give it a little cut there and make it look good, but then Auto Greed, Chaos Sorcerer, and Breaker. Now that was a really bad one. As I can say, I've never actually done any of these in practice, so it's, we'll just say Pot of Greed for an example to show. Shuffle their deck like that. As you can see, Pot of Greed's not moving at all. Leaving it there. Making it look like you're still shuffling the deck, but putting it like this so you at least get a good view of that Pot of Greed's not actually moving. Of course, if someone's shuffling their deck like this, it's kind of hard to tell. But Pot of Greed is still there. And then when it's time, they'll decide to either go like that and cut, in which case it's in the top 5 cards of your hand. Or one other technique people have done is go sit down their deck like that, they'll immediately start drawing cards. And as you can see, I drew from the bottom of my deck, which gives me the Pot of Greed. This was years and years ago. It's when they're looking through their deck, searching for a target, say Sangan went to the graveyard. Let me just find Sangan. Sangan goes to the graveyard. So you want to search an appropriate target. We'll just say my hand's down here. Alright? Look at your hand. Looking at a card that you want in your hand. You go search for a Sangan target. We'll just say Tsukiyomi. You put it here at your deck, and they'll come up and ask you what's life points at, or anything like that, and they'll switch the card and not only add the Tsukiyomi, but they'll also add the card that they really wanted, the Blackluster Soldier. It's been a very long time since I've seen this kind of thing used. This is like 15 plus years ago that I've seen anyone try that. Try and make sure that you keep track of their hand size as well. It's very useful and good way to keep yourself from being cheated, because as you can see, there's 7 cards. Someone might not have noticed that, and it's harder to do and prove later on in the game. But as you can see, Snatch Steal. And I find if someone's actually stacking their deck, trying to get all the best cards to their hand, best way to fix that is either cutting like this, make sure you mix it up though, mix it up nice and good. Pile swap. Now for this, we'll just say I have activated Pot of Desires, which did not exist in GOAT format. So there we go. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, there's 11. We'll just throw these back. And keeping your banish down here, as people back in the day didn't really put it off to the side or anything. They'd just kind of keep it down here so they could check and see what's banished at any time that they needed. So if they've got a hand, they realize that, okay, Pot of Greed's in the graveyard, or it's in the banished after they activate Desires, which would never happen. Never. So one thing they'll do is they'll put the card that they want on the top of the banished, look at their hand, start to make a play, put their monster down, and then they'll ask, what's life points at? Ran down like this. What's life points at? Then while you check your calculator, they make the switch. One thing I've seen people do by accident, which is very common back in certain formats, back when you banished a whole lot, is people mixing up their deck and their banished zone, or their deck and their banished cards. So, a couple Pot of Desires there. There's your deck. Graveyard's up here, or something like that. We'll just say that's graveyard. And they draw a card from this, which is their banished, and they shuffle it into their hand that they already had. So they had 2 cards in hand, and they draw from their banish and shuffle it. That's one accidental thing that a lot of people have done. In most cases, you can't fix it, in which case I believe is a game loss, or at least a match loss. But I mean, accidents happen, you have to pay attention in this game. One thing people used to do, I've never actually seen anyone do this. I've had people play against me before that had marks on their sleeves, and I never thought anything of it, because, I mean, pure mindset. But someone's got like a dent in their sleeve, or using that to mark their cards. So people can go as far as marking cards with their fingernails or peeling back the corners like that. Some people, I guess, have been caught doing it, checking out their opponent's graveyard so that they can see what their opponent has in the graveyard and marking up the backs of certain cards, like, we'll just say Spellbook Judgment, for example, or Spellbook Library, cards that were really good back in the day. This is the only time I've actually heard of this happening. And the back of those cards got marked, so the person got disqualification or something like that. But yeah, apparently that's a real thing that happens and has happened, so I thought it would be something that you want to have knowledge of. So people would go check out the graveyard, and while they're checking it, say, oh, there's a delinquent duo right there, I want to know if he has it. Take your fingernail and scratch the back of it or something. I don't remember the player who did it, but I know they were disqualified for a few years. Also doing that to you or your opponent, because if you do it to your own cards, apparently you can make it look like they were cheating, marking up your cards. So yeah, that's one thing I guess happens. I've never actually seen it, but at least the whole marking up your own cards so that your opponent gets a game loss, that doesn't make sense to me. Even if you're on like a high stakes nationals level stuff, I don't understand that kind of thought. For example, we'll go into the deck again, we'll just grab a Pot of Greed or a Graceful Charity, Delinquent Duo, something like that. And for this case, we'll just say Pot of Greed, +1. And it's easier and not noticeable if it's hidden under your mat. And just like that, the Pot of Greed is in your hand. It's one way that people have been caught cheating, and I don't understand how you can't catch that, but in the middle of a long regional, stuff like that, I know stuff probably gets unnoticed, so doing more than one normal summon per turn. Go format, not so much, as people would not easily forget, okay, I used up my one normal summon back then. Just say they have a play where they can be quite advantageous. So say they have a set monster. They tribute that monster, summon Air Knight Parashath. Yeah, so I'll do everything down here because the camera doesn't want to focus up there. So they'll tribute their set monster, Air Knight Parashath, attack. They get Saku'd or something, dies. Set a monster instead of back row. That's something that has happened in the past. People aren't really, well, they weren't really that forgetful back then. But more so in combo days. I know myself, I have accidentally done it at locals, playing Goki. Do a normal summon, do an extra normal summon, and forget that, okay, I just did a normal summon, I'm so sorry, and fix the game state. As long as you don't let it get too far, in which case it's both of your problems then. Now, there's also mechanical cheating, which is the misrepresentation of the game state, life points. That's why you all should carry a calculator. Illegal activations. And changing card text, as I said with the Mystical Space Typhoon. changing rules just to fit your situation. So it's like, yeah, you can't activate this card because you do not have that. I believe people do that in games, in sharking, but I've never played against a shark, so drawing extra cards. Way to stack your deck like this, that basically you want these 5 cards in your hand. I think you go sort it into piles of 5. Another reason for you to definitely make sure that you cut and shuffle your opponent's deck. Apparently, when people do this, they're very articulate. They want to make sure everything gets back in the order it was in. As I'm not sure, I might screw this up completely, in which case I am sorry. And then separate it into piles, sorts of 6. I can't remember if it's this pile or this pile that's supposed to have the cards, but not this pile, so I would have gotten that wrong anyways. Just more knowledge. Watch it when people do that. And this will be my last part for this. I will be showing you a little side deck trick that people are doing to make it more likely that they will draw their side deck cards. We'll say we side these in. All cards that can help you either get to the other cards that you want or just to help protect you. Set the side deck on top like that, and then that. Won't really matter what they're doing. They're just looking for those 8 side decked cards. So we'll just do it quick and simple. And let's see what we get to. Then top 5 cards. Book of Moon, Yugioh Priest, which might be one of the ones. Book of Moon, Heavy Storm. No. So that may or may not have been the one. But I'll do it this way to show a little better. Now we'll take the cards out. I believe this should be our 8 cards. Just to show how effective it is, I'll put the cards in facing up. While we're cutting it like this. Remember, this is all for educational purposes to teach you how to catch cheaters. All of these facts are pretty well known, so if you're trying them yourself to get an edge, it's not going to work for you, and someone will catch you. And now, as you can see, fan them out. They're all separated very well. This was previously shown to me on Tombox's channel, so basically guarantees that you'll be able to get one of your side deck cards. I'll be posting basically this deck later on today. So now that was our How to Catch a Cheater Yu-Gi-Oh edition. Now that was all the hints I could think of, everything that I know about it. As I said, I had basically everything written down from notes I've taken and stuff I've seen in the past. So, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. This is Roy from Team Nonstop Gaming, signing off. Y'all have a great day. Stay safe.